A big hi to all my viewers. I am Ranjit George and I am part of the marketing and strategy group at CRM Next. I am responsible for all the written aspects of content marketing, marketing communication and corporate communication. You can catch my work at our blog crmsolutions.crmnext.com and be a part of our social network on Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn. Keep in mind that these secrets which I am going to reveal to you, they are not designed to turn you into Shakespeare and win you Pulitzer Awards. Rather, they are designed to empower you to write insightful, detailed and artistic articles which will attract audiences, and from amongst the audiences attract prospects, and from amongst the prospects engage leads so that they come forward, get into a discussion with you and enable them to buy your products. So let's dive in. If you are a technical writer and if you are a business writer, you should, if you are in the way, it's okay, no problem, no big deal. You should go and talk to people. You should go and speak to those people, like engagement people, or speak to those customer representatives who are on the forefront, who face the customers. You should go and talk to them, and it's a sort of interview. Take an interview, ask them, okay, you do this, you do this. Tell me, what's your experience? They'll be happy to share. They'll feel, okay, this guy really wants to know what I'm going through in my daily work. So they'll be happy to share their knowledge. And most important, they will be happy to share their experiences. Whether it's good or bad, it's okay. You need to write it in a positive way. But they'll be happy to share your experiences. And live experiences always attracts readers. Trust me. Live experiences, live anecdotes, what is happening on the case, what is happening on the projects, the way you put it across, it is bound to attract the readers because they can relate to what is happening in their business and what they should expect in your product and service. Okay. Now, I have put across a point. Seasons like Christmas, Lent, or St. Patrick's Day, or the 4th of July. See, on this particular seasons, if you are an online business writer, the search terms increases. So, search terms increases, and along with that, if the audiences, they see a headline which is seasonal, like on the Christmas, on the eve of Christmas, you write an article, okay, this Christmas how you can increase or you can satisfy the customer, or how you can increase your customer delight. So it's okay, it's Christmas season and I want my business to flourish. I want my business to satisfy the customers in this season. So okay, I should read it. So use season like 4th of July, St. Patrick's Day, Christmas to your advantage and write articles which are seasonal, not to go in detail, but just give them a seasonal flavoring. That's bound to attract and keep them reading the content. Now, use anecdotes I mentioned earlier. Now, look at this highlighted word. It's called Sophie. Now, Sophie, I wish I had a girlfriend called Sophie. It's a nice name which I like. Sophie stands for simple, original, powerful, hot, which means refined, intelligent, and emotive. So, your content, whatever you're writing, it should be simple, very simple enough even for a layman or even a child to make some sense of it. It should be original, unique. Uniqueness counts. Plagiarism is strictly forbidden. It should be powerful, as I said, alt, stop, don't move ahead. It should be refined to the fine tune. I mean, there shouldn't be any beating around the bush. There shouldn't be any content which wastes the reader's time. No. It should be very refined. It should show intelligence. And it should be very emotive. It should connect with the readers on a very personal level, be it in their work life or be it in their personal life. Okay? So keep Sophie always besides you for maximum impact. Now let's move ahead. Now, on the screen you can note there are some 6 points where if you use it, it will make your business writing much simpler. Like for example, the first one. Now, business writing, majority of the technical industries or information technology industries, there are jargons like TCP or CRM, customer relationship management. Use this extensively, not too much extensively, but use it, pepper it around. Because if you use jargon, it enables to establish a sense of familiarity with the audience. The audience will feel, okay, these are the jargons which I come across in my readings or in my work. So okay, it relates to me, it's what I'm looking out for. And one thing, if you're using acronyms, expand them first and then use it. For example, customer relationship management, which you should write down this full thing first, there's no shortcut, and then type it in the back, and a bracket. So that when a reader looks, he's confused. Okay, what does this diagram stand for? I should read it. I never saw it. I should Google it. No, he was not going to do it. So to make it easier for him, expand the acronym and keep it in brackets. Okay. Stocking statement. This I have said to you earlier. IDA. Now, this is the formula which is followed by the majority of the greatest business writers, like attention, interest, desire, action. It's a logical flow. You grab the audience attention, okay? You generate interest to read the content. You generate at the end, you generate a desire for your product or service, and then you force them to take a call, to take an action, like visit the website or purchase your product or log into a free trial. IDA is one of the most powerful short forms which you can come across. Alright? Now, many a times audiences will be tempted, or not audiences, but business writers will be tempted to mislead the audiences just for the purpose of show. Never do it. It's tempting because if I make exaggerated claims, if I write exaggerated content, audiences will love it. No, they will love it maybe for the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even for the first day, but once they realize that they have been misled and fooled, trust me, a broken online or offline relationship can never be repaired. Seriously, cannot be repaired. To make it very simple for you, remember the story of the boy who cried the wolf. You know what happened to him when the real wolf came? No. So in fact, like if you continuously mislead the audience in 1 or 2 or 3 articles, but in the 4th article, even if it's good enough, the audience will think, this guy made me a fool 3 times. Why should I trust him the 4th? So never mislead the audience. Okay? Now, don't be overwhelmed by the fact that you are writing a whole lengthy 700 or 1000 articles. No, don't be overwhelmed. What you can do is, whatever idea comes into your mind, whatever concept comes into your mind, write 3 to 4 sentences at one time. Like today or in the first half an hour, you wrote 5 sentences on this concept, fine. On a different concept related to your topic, you had a separate insight, you read something else and you write something else about it, it's fine. At the end of the day, or at the end of your work, at the end of everything else you have done, you can move the segments around just like Lego bricks, logically. Like, it's okay, like if you write one concept here, one concept there, one concept here, fine. You just jot it down, ensure there is a flow, move it across like Lego bricks and build it upon, that's it. So your content should ideally be structured, it will be useful and easier and faster for you. So it should ideally be segments which can be moved around very easily and very quickly. It shouldn't take that much of your time. Now let's move on. Now it looks boring and it is boring. So the thing is, these are simple style tips. The purpose of these style tips is to make it easier to read. I mean, as I said earlier, what you showcase, it should be nice. So the purpose of these style tips is to make the content easier to read so that the audience don't need a magnifying glass to read every fine print. No. And I'll just highlight some of the few points, like there should be line spacing between the paragraphs. It's very tempting to use bold and italic characters, so you think, okay, every point of mine is very important, it should scream out to the audience, don't get tempted by it. My friend, use bold, italics and underline, very minimal, very basic. Only basic headlines, sub-headlines or even callouts, that's it. The rest of the content should be in plain English and in plain fonts. Now, it should be consistent, by the way. It shouldn't be like a line contains all the letters as bold. No, it shouldn't be like that. It should be consistent across throughout your content. The main text should ideally be between 11 to 12 points, section subheadings in 14 points, and headlines in a big 18 points, because headlines is something which you want to attract. So it should be naturally be on the top of the pecking order, and it should be naturally be 18 points, which is one of the highest points. Keep decent margins, which make it easier to read, right? And use consistent schemes across headings. Have a main heading, say 18 points of 18 points, then subheadings. Use consistency. Consistency should be shown around throughout your article. Now, if your document is going to be an A4, which is, I think is used for white papers and case studies, so your main text should be between 11 points, so that it's easier in print, and in print, while people read it, it's easier for them to read as well. And there's a repetition, like there should be consistency in style and formatting and the point allocation and bold and italics. Now let's move ahead. This is my favorite part, the power of stories. You love reading. If you're a writer or a budding writer, you should love reading books, you should love reading stories, you should love reading fiction. Stories have been used since generations to pass on moral lessons, moral values, information and teachings. Now, once marketers and other business writers, they found that stories are one of the simplest way to engage an audience. They have finally understood why every content or most of the content should be a story which connects to the audience. This is because, you see, look at how Winston Churchill spoke, or great speakers, great public speakers like Abraham Lincoln. Almost every one of their public speeches had a story, had a situation. It enables the readers or the listeners to place themselves in a situation and to actually realize their experiences, actually relive those moments. So, and one of the other key aspects which I want to highlight is, when you use stories, fabrication, till a point it's okay, but if you are a business writer, as far as possible, use live stories. If your business is around for like 5 to 10 years, you should definitely have some successful testimonials, successful case studies, or successful project implementations. You can use them as live stories. You can create a scenario of this bank had this problem, had this thing, and we arrived as a white knight and solved all their problems and how they are ultimately are now happy, and passing their word around that this business is good or this service is good. So use live examples as much as possible for your story base. It attracts the audience can relate it to their daily happenings around in their business, and it ultimately creates a desire. You remember IDA? It ultimately creates a desire in them to buy and try out the products. Okay? Read the last point. Stories will allow you to get the audience to do what you want. How exciting is that? Let's move ahead. Now, structure tips. These are some basic formatting tips. The basic remains the same. There should be introduction, there should be a proper background, there should be a body, and there should be conclusion. But I'll say the last point now. Always hide your structure. There shouldn't be like you type in introduction and then two hyphen and then you write and then the main body and then this thing. No. It should be subtle. A reader, when he knows, he should understand, okay, this is the introduction. It should not be shown in his page. This is the introduction, this is the conclusion. No. It's the introduction. This is the main body, and finally here it concludes. It should be hidden inside your content. It should be subtle. Okay? So, as I said earlier, it should be simple segments which are allowed to build upon each other as Lego piece. I love playing Lego. You should also definitely try it on. Now let's move ahead. Pay for psychology. I'm not a psychiatrist, and I generally take psychiatrists with a pinch of salt. But it helps a business writer if he is aware of some of the basic human desires or those trigger points which every human being, or almost every human being, unless you are someone like Hitler or something, every human being loves or attracts or stimulates. For example, I have listed here 31 motivations for the human psychology. Okay? First is, I like to be liked. I like to be loved, I like to be famous, I like to be highly appreciated by my seniors and my bosses, and I have the right to feel important by my peers, by my friends. I like to save money for my future. I like to save time so that I can get many things done in the most minimum piece of time. To make my work easier so that I can get some free time. To be secure. I don't like problems so much. I like to be attractive, I like to be sexy, I like to be comfortable around my surroundings. I like to stand out from my peers or from my competition. I like to fit in. I don't want to be too standout or be considered as a jerk. I like to have fun. I would like to gain knowledge. I would love to be healthy and strong. And I would love to satisfy my curiosity. I would like to have a sense of belonging. Humans are social animals. They need to have a sense of belonging. I like to gain respect, which is related to appreciated and feel valued. I like to avoid pain. I want to be happy always. Every human being would like to know what is the meaning of life, what is the main purpose of life. I don't like to fear, but fear is a thing wherein people love and hate it. It's both the sides of the same coin. Fear, if it used nicely or if it used properly, attracts the readers. Because some people, if you know some of your friends who are much fans of horror movies, some of them they don't like horror movies. So it's like fear is one thing which you can use, but you should be very careful. You shouldn't draw the line, and you shouldn't be passing out of the line here. So out of fear, I may do something. Out of fear of my business collapsing, out of fear of my market share sliding, out of fear if I lose my valued customers, out of fear that I'll be out of the competition one of the day. So you can play on those competitions. Out of greed, I am greedy. Every business is greedy. No matter what they say, almost all the business, their ultimate aim is to make profits. I'm not a capitalist, by the way. Anyway, so for convenience, to achieve something, everyone likes to be seen as striving towards achieving something. And ultimately, last but not the least, to win, to beat the competition to the dust and stand out and admired by all. Now previously you saw the main triggers of human psychology, what attracts human beings. Now moving ahead, we will come across some tips where it is not written mostly which are very subtle. For example, create an aura of exclusiveness. Now imagine an offer being made that says to you that if you do this, you'll be part of an exclusive group. So you feel okay, if I take this step, I'll be considered someone who's not part of the group. Everyone likes to stand out, which I mentioned earlier. For example, one of the companies, American Express, they used it very beautifully, right? They use this copy, like quite frankly, American Express card is not for everyone. And not everyone who applies for the card is approved. So you feel a challenge. It's a challenge for me to get into American Express. I should do this and I should win an American Express card. Ultimately, who wins? The company wins, and you too win if you are the one who drafted this copy. Now, one of the best practices which any business writer should follow is write content with before scenario and then after scenario. Like, for example, I write for CRM next. So before CRM, before customer relationship management, this was the case. And after customer relationship management, this is the case. So before CRM next, moving to a business, company had no strategy or company had no synchronized functions or departments or no way to analyze their marketing campaigns or ROI, etc. But after CRM, they saw an increase in lead generation, synchronized work process, and analysis and data criticality and whatever. So before situation and after situation. Okay. Now there's actually the next point is one of the key weaknesses of any business writer. They use cliches very much. Like before you know it, or it's not rocket science, or best laid plans and fate worse than death. These are cliches which are actually overused in decades. So avoid using cliches. Okay? So as I said earlier, focus on the solutions, not on the problem. Alright? For example, I'll showcase an example. Like instead of does your business suffer from? So it's a problem. Does your business suffer from? No. But try it this way. Wouldn't it be great if our business? So wouldn't it be nice if our business did this? Or wouldn't it be nice or wouldn't it be great if your business tried these ways? So it focuses on the solutions rather than focusing on the solution. It's just a play of words. You need to use which kind of words to use when. Now, these are some of the points that I jumbled up together. The first is, as I mentioned earlier, there are certain words like secret, guaranteed, which are designed to attract audiences. Likewise, there are certain words which are designed to repel audiences and which unfortunately are used by many of the businesses. Those words are cost, buy, price, pay, spend, owe. Those are things which are my liabilities. I don't like those words. I would rather, and this creates a negative sense of feeling. Rather, I would go for positive things. Like, enjoy 2 nights at the luxury hotel. Previously it was spend 2 nights. You spend, you pay out of your pockets. Spend 2 nights at this luxury hotel. Why would I spend 2 nights? A normal hotel is okay for. But If you change it to enjoy 2 nights of this splendid luxury hotel. Okay, fine, positive experience. Alright? Now, as I said earlier, focus on you, creative personal connect, focus on your, so that the reader is you. Okay, he says, the article speaks to me, you should feel like it. Okay? And there should be an implicit urgency. Now, let me explain to you the difference between implicit and explicit. Implicit is like, it's urgent, you need to do it now. Whereas explicit is like, okay, fine, it's urgent, but not that urgent now, I can manage without it. So, if you want your content to persuade the reader to buy your product, create an implicit sense of urgency. For example, now that you know how good X is, why would you wait to enjoy X benefits? Why would you wait? You shouldn't wait, right? So, you should create an implicit sense of emergency and urgency. Try to create a sense of intrigue. This relates to my point where I said you should use intrigue headlines. You can use intrigue in your content as well. Okay. So, like for example, as I mentioned here, why do Eskimos always have thick, skinny, healthy hair? Or if you are a technology writer, why do startups have such a powerful impact on SoftBank or payment disruptors or banks? So it creates a sense of intrigue. Okay. So now I have this part. It lists down some of the words which actually aids you into the flow of the content. Now any written piece you write, it should have a natural flow of things. As I said, you should build your segments upon each other, but it should have a logical flow. Now some of the words are what's more, in fact, it gets worse. Not only that, one more thing, in addition, therefore, hence, so. These are the words which ensure a continuous and logical flow to your content. So use them wisely. But last but not the least, use the power of stories. Now, in one of my writing pieces for banks, I had created a scenario of the introduction. What the scenario was, imagine you are a bank's manager. Your cross-sell ratios are declining. Your boss rings you up constantly every morning asking for reports and blasts you over the poor performance. What will you do? Put yourself in your shoes. So exhort the audience to use their imagination, use their creativity. They don't get a chance regularly to use their creativity. So if you offer them a chance to use their creativity and imagination, they will bite it, trust me. For example, a bitterly cold winter's night. You are hungry, you, the reader, you are hungry, you are tired, you are famished, you are terrified. All you have is a bag in your bag. And your only hope is a free phone call. But will be answered. So, just continue.
Shall we continue?
ठीक है, मैं ना ये part exhort the audience से start करता हूँ, ठीक है? Flow lose गए, ठीक है? You should always motivate the audience to use their imagination, to use their creativity. Because they don't get to use those aspects very much in their daily use. So if you offer them a chance to use their imagination, they will bite it. For example, in one of my previous pieces on banks, I had written this like, place yourself as a bank, or imagine you are the bank manager of a big multinational group, and your cross-sell ratios are declining. Your boss phones in every morning asking for reports and blasts over your performance. What will you do? So create a situation wherein the audience, the reader, can use the imagination. I had actually read this copy in one of the emergency services ads. Let me read it across to you. It's a bitterly cold winter night. You are terrified. You are hungry. You are tired. And all you own or whatever you have is in your bag. And it's actually what you have. You see hope, and your only hope is actually one free call, which you get. But will we answer? Will we answer? It creates a sense of intrigue. It creates a sense of imagination. Okay, this is the situation which I may find myself in, but will it happen? So, let's go on. Remember surfing, which I mentioned earlier? This is the more refined and honed and simplistic version of it. The key focus areas, I had titled it as key focus areas, because if you follow this, if you keep focusing on these areas, your content will come out beautifully and it will actually serve your purpose. The first one is simplicity. It should be very simple, very simple. The first 2-3 lines should be very simple enough to convey what the readers can expect if they go down below and read the rest of the 600 or 700 words. If you are having difficulty in crafting out a good introduction, what you can do is, once you write your introduction, you can spend some time, cut off some sentences, see how it affects the whole content. Trust me, if you cut off almost around, I guess, 60 to 70% of your top content, it won't make much of a difference, because writers, they have a very bad tendency of writing, write many things and except at the beginning of the content. So even if you remove around 70% of your content, it won't make much difference to your article or your written piece. Okay? And one important thing, avoid, I said earlier, use jargons, but the jargon should be limited on the main body of the article, not on the top of the introduction. Because if you use jargons in the introduction, it becomes too technical, too rational, doesn't apply emotionally to your audience. Okay? And the main purpose of your business writing should be to engage your readers. It should be powerful enough to motivate the readers to interact with the content. And by interaction, in online writing or online business writing, that means clicking on links, or that means posting comments, and the most important, sharing on social media sites across, like Facebook or Twitter. So it should be innovative, you should avoid cliches. You should avoid cliches like passionate about, innovative, leading, world class. Come on, every company in the world says these things, like consumer focused, goal oriented. That's what everyone says. How are you different from the others? That's what people will say. So your words should use secrets, guaranteed. It's like it attracts the readers while avoiding cliches. Okay, just for your imagination, I hope you know cooking. Okay, so if you know cooking, you know that too much of anything leads to bad stuff. Like if you put too much spice, it becomes too spicy, not digestible. If you add too much salt, it becomes too salty. If you reduce the water content, it becomes too brothy. So think of writing of your written experience, while writing an article. Think of it as you are preparing a food. Use everything consistently in the required terms or manners or quantities, and be consistent in your pourings. And avoid too much cliches, too much headings, too much pointers, too much paragraphs, because it's way too boring, too much bones and italics. So avoid too much of anything. Be simple as much as possible. Let's move on. Now, here are some examples which I have put it across to you, so that this will aid you to persuade, or to at least try to persuade the readers. Some of the examples I've written out across to you is, most of the people would agree. You are creating a sense of familiarity. Most of the people will agree. Right? We all know that. This is something which you know, which the reader, they themselves know. Okay, this is all something which we know. Are we expected to do this? This language, are we expected to, is used by rebels or someone who is challenging the established notions. So are we expected to do this? It's a challenge. Everybody knows that. Okay, everybody knows it. I should also be knowing this. So I will read that article. I will read that piece. So to summarize, while writing, if your aim is to persuade, you should write in such a manner where people will agree. Because people, once they agree, they will like. Once they like, they will share. Once they share, it serves your purpose. You spread your words across. So create a sense of familiarity between you, your writing, and your reader. These are the three verticals of the trioca. Not the aim of trioca, but the trioca, that is you, your writing, and your audience. If you create a link wherein all the three will like each other, then it will serve your business purposes. Let's go on. Now, these are some of the bonus writing tips which I have added on as a value. So, for the first tip is, bonus tip is, your audience or your readers will have doubts. They will definitely have doubts. What you can do is, you can spend some time and try to find out what those objections can be. For example, if I write an article on how to turn the customer data into competitive advantage, Some of the objections can be customer data. Won't it be privacy, intrusion of privacy? Won't it be illegal? Won't it be too cumbersome? Won't it be too hard to run the customer data? These are some of the possible objections which can come up. I, as a writer, I'll spend some time to find out what these objections are and to find the solutions to those objects and implement it in my writings. Okay? So, as I said, you should use those words to counter these arguments, and if in case, it should be compulsory. Like once you have control of those objections, you should write a line like get in touch with more information. You are exhorting the reader to come and get in touch with you. You are showing that you are a live person. The reader can come across to you and justify his doubt or justify his debates and clarify his doubts or whatever things he has in his mind. So you are inviting the reader. It's an engagement sort of. You are engaging the reader. Okay? Now remember, I'm going to tell you one of the most important secrets. Tell the audience what you want to tell them. Tell them, and at the last, again tell them what you told them. This formula will be helpful when you write conclusions. Okay? It's like, tell the audience, demonstrate the audience what you're going to write, demonstrate, and at the end, show them what you demonstrated. So the brand recall, so the mind recall stays consistent throughout the time of the reading, and once they leave the page and go to other pages other times, they will stay, okay, this is what I did, this is what I read, this is what I learned. So it will stay in the back of their mind. Okay? And to write one of the most compelling pieces, answer the question like what's in it for the customers? How will the customers benefit? Okay? So if the customers are being shown a scenario, and will the customer relate it to it? And once he relates it, can he relate his pain areas? Can he relate his business points, or can he relate his business struggles to those points? And can he take away solutions, benefits, features which will enable him to solve his problems? What's in it for him, a business leader or a prospect? What's in my written piece for him to satisfy his curiosity, his business demands and struggles, and to turn around his business struggles and demands into solutions, actionable, plain to the point solutions. Right? The fifth bonus tip is, this I think should be the mode of conduct, that is, tell the audience what they know and nothing more. Please, no beating around the bush. You're wasting your time and you're wasting your audience time. I will be frank enough to confess that while I began my writing journey, I used to do this. Like I used to beat around the bush a lot for the sole purpose of reaching my words mark. Like if I had to write a 700 word articles and I could reach only 400 words, I would beat around the bush, add more words, be it whether it makes sense or not. But as I progressed, I realized that this mode of writing was hurting me, my career and my audience. It was not benefiting me. Just for short-term benefits, I was losing a whole lot of credibility. So, only tell the audience what they need to know. Never beat around the bush. Time is precious. Okay? In order to give a sense of credibility, if you want, you can quote from celebrities, known industry influencers, and known industry experts. But keep in mind, if you are going to use quotes, quote them. Give a source like this Cognizant Technologies or Nielsen or Gartner. Source them. Give the source. This will help you to avoid legal troubles, and it's a sort of give and take. You take some of my stuff, you at least give me credit for what it is. So always give credit to your source and use influencer quotes or call-outs to establish credibility. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, if you establish a sense of familiarity and engagement with the audience, it will help the audience to write and relate and engage with your content more interactively, which can result in more sharing, more likes and more comments. Okay? Let's go ahead. Mark Twain is one of the most influential writers which I come across. He had a very simple phrase, that is, writing is easy. All you have to do is to take out the wrong words. Remember, in some time before I told you, you go on writing 200 or 300 words. If you remove the wrong words and remove around 10 or 20%, it won't affect your content much. So, don't beat around the bush. Let the audience know what they want to hear or what they want to read. That's it. Your writing will be plain simple. Follow this advice. And if after listening to these secrets or reading to these secrets. If you're still stuck, you can reach me on ranjit.george@crmx.in. That brings the end to my secrets. I hope you enjoyed the journey and all the best to your writing career. Thank you and have a great day.